All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog 2025, number 48. And today I am seeing red. I am actually going to call out a specific person. I normally don't do this, but this is egregious enough that I feel like I need to call them out. Dungeon Craft. If you're not familiar with the D&D YouTuber metaverse, Dungeon Craft is one of the not largest, but they have 141,000 subscribers. They are a relatively well-established TTRPG slash D&D channel, and it's hosted by a dude named Professor DM. I have rather significant issues with Professor DM. One of my favorite examples of why I don't trust this person to inform me about anything related to D&D or tabletop RPGs was when they were talking about the new Dungeon Master Guide. They mentioned, I never read the 2014 Dungeon Master Guide. Now, they had tons and tons to say about how horrible it was, how horrible D&D in general was, how much they had to homebrew in order to be able to make D&D 5th edition work well, and yet they never read the 2014 Dungeon Master Guide, which had a lot of the things that most people think you have to homebrew. And in that same thing, he's like, I didn't realize how much stuff was in that I just never read because I don't need to learn how to be a DM. I'm already a good DM. So I've talked about this before, the idea that there are a lot of established DMs that refuse to read or purchase certain TTRPG books, and it's not just exclusively to D&D. It is any TTRPG book that they find because their mindset is, I am already a good DM. I don't need someone telling me how to be a good DM. And that is an extremely toxic mindset that leads to, well, people like Professor DM talking out of his ass. By the way, Professor DM, if you have any problems with anything I'm saying, you want to kind of defend yourself more than just making a video where you can't actually be called out for your bullshit, I am 100% happy to go on your channel, have a conversation on my channel. We could stream it on Twitch, whatever you would like. And I promise you, as much as I'm bad-mouthing you right now, I will treat you with as much respect as I possibly can while not allowing you to just state blatant misinformation and lies. So I won't, I won't, swear at you or say that you're peddling bullshit or talking out of your ass. I said it here because I'm really, 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 really upset with the bullshit that you've just pulled today. So, but if you would like to have an actual conversation, I will be as cordial as physically possible. And to be blunt, I'd love to be able to have an actual conversation with you. The rest of this video is not going to treat you in a very nice light. So I apologize for more likely than not hurting your feelings. But this needs to be said. So, for everyone that is not Professor DM, anyone that has been watching this channel for more than a few days knows that I am a huge 4th edition fanboy. Specifically 4th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. It was the first version of D&D I played at the tabletop. It was the first version of D&D that I actually wrote my own adventure for. It was the thing that got me into tabletop RPGs. I still love it to this day. I think that there are a lot of things that 4th edition does significantly better than 5th edition. One of those not being ease of entry. 5th edition is by far the most accessible version of D&D that has ever existed. Though the 2024 5.5 update does muddy that slightly, it's still very, very accessible. It is still probably the easiest entry point into Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs you're going to find, aside from things like one-page RPGs like Lasers and Feelings. There was a video is posted to, there is a 4th edition D&D Reddit that I love. It's great. There's all these people that are currently playing 4th edition there. I have found my people. It's great. They posted a video today talking about how Professor DM has confirmed that D&D 4th edition was just World of Warcraft D&D. And whenever I hear this, I see red. And the reason why was back when the edition wars were in full force, which nowadays you don't get them quite as much. You still have the 3rd edition purse like, 3rd edition was the best version of D&D, and there's nothing, and all these other versions are just horrible. And then you have the Pathfinder bros are going, well, Pathfinder is the real D&D. And but it's not D&D at all. It's a completely separate game that's better than D&D, but it's the real D&D. And then you have the 5th edition fanboys going, Critical Role! Dimension 20! Dungeons and Dungeons! I don't know what the third one was. There's a game, a live play, that involves dungeons and dead. I don't know. Anyway, it's nowhere near what it used to be. The Edition Wars was a dark time. And the most common critique of a 4th edition was, well, it's just World of Warcraft. Like, if I wanted to play World of Warcraft, I'd play World of Warcraft. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. Which is a bold-faced lie. It was not World of Warcraft. It was never World of Warcraft, and that's where Dungeon Craft comes in. I actually have watched this portion of the video. The video itself is called The Shocking Truth About 5e Revealed, parentheses, with Mike Merle's, exclamation point, close parentheses. If anyone doesn't know, Mike Merle's started with Wizards of the Coast in 2005 during the tail end of 3rd edition. He helped design 4th edition, but he was not one of the lead designers. The lead designer of 4th edition actually in 2010 left Wizards of the Coast, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, left Wizards of the Coast to start creating 13th Age, which I have mentioned many times before. I love 13th Age. I think it's a phenomenal TTRPG. But when he left, and basically all of the people that actually designed 4th edition left around that time, Mike Merles was left as the most senior person left on the staff, and he gets a lot of flack for ruining D&D 4th edition. He didn't. According to sources that I've seen in various places on the internet, the Essentials line of D&D 4th edition, which is basically 4th edition simplified, was kind of the brainchild of Mike Merles. And there are a lot of big benefits to the Essentials line of products. But the Essentials line was effectively a culmination of all of the errata that had happened for the past 2-ish years of D&D 4th edition. So it wasn't entirely the Essentials line changed everything. No, it was just that the Essentials line just kind of used all the changes that had already happened. So in this, if you watch the very beginning, you see the proof. And I actually went and I found the actual timestamp. If you guys want to watch it yourself, again, the video is called The Shocking Truth About 5e Revealed with Mike Merles. And it's on the Dungeon Craft channel. It's been up for 10 hours. I'm not going to link to it because that's how pissed off I am. But if you want to find it, it's super unbelievably simple to find. Go find it. At the 6 minutes and 59 second mark, Mike Merles, or not Mike Merles, Professor DM asks this question, and I am quoting entirely. I wrote it down exactly as he said it. Is it true that the mandate for 4E was make this like World of Warcraft? And Mike Merles responds, of course it was. And then immediately there's a cut. And we have no idea what the end of that statement was. It's just, yes, of course it was, cut. And the cut goes immediately, that whole section, which is about 2 minutes of the otherwise like 15-minute video. It's like anywhere between, I think, 2 to 4 minutes, somewhere in there. I didn't time it exactly, but I've watched it like 4 times now, and I'm not going to watch it again just to figure out exactly how long it is. So, Professor DM goes, is it true that the mandate for 4E was make this like World of Warcraft? And Mike Merles, who he credits here as a 5e lead designer, which I believe is mostly true. He says, yes, of course it was. Immediate cut. And then the next section is just World of Warcraft was super, super popular. You know, it had something like 12 million subscribers at its peak, which isn't true. I think it actually went up to 14 or 16 million before Blizzard stopped publishing how many subscriptions that they had. But yeah, it was massively popular. He talks about how EverQuest, when they were doing super, super well, they had something like 750,000 subscribers. And that was a really, really, and that's this entire section. It says nothing about 4th edition. They don't talk about, well, okay, how did you make it like World of Warcraft? What aspects of World of Warcraft were used to design 4th edition? Because my belief, this is me inferring based on statements that Professor DM has said previously. So this is my inference. He has not specifically stated this anywhere. My inference as to why he cut immediately after he got the yes, of course it was because Mike Merles was probably going to explain exactly what about World of Warcraft inspired 4th edition, which wouldn't support the common misconception that, well, the powers, that's just World of Warcraft. It's not. The powers weren't inspired by World of Warcraft. You want to know what they took from World of Warcraft? Subscriptions. 100%. I've talked about this a billion times before. D&D Insider was a subscription service that you originally, when it was pitched, not only would it give you access to literally all of 4th edition, it was a steal. It was $10 a month when I finally got involved with it, which was late. I want to say it was like 2014-ish. Maybe it's 2013, somewhere around there. Anyway, it was an absolute steal. But it was originally pitched, your D&D Insider account not only was going to give you access to not only was it going to give you access to 4th edition, it was also going to get access to... Sorry, I have to look up something. It was also going to give you access to the new virtual tabletop that Wizards of the Coast was developing specifically so that you could play 4th edition basically online. Trying to see the first virtual tabletops. Yeah, that's this is not working. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So, the idea of virtual tabletops was not brand spanking new to Wizards of the Coast. Fantasy Grounds came out in 2004, 4 years before D&D 4th edition was a thing. And there are a few other virtual tabletops that were starting to become more and more popular. So, when they talk about, you know, again, this is the exact question he said. Is it true that the mandate for 4E was make this like World of Warcraft? Which, by the way, you will see, especially in courtrooms and things like that, you will see these very, very directed questions often, because the purpose of a question like this is to force the person to answer the way that you want them to answer. So if you ever see a question where it starts off with, is it true, or something like that, or yes or no, this was where it's asking for a very, very succinct, short answer to a very, very complex question, like, the mandate for 4E was make this like World of Warcraft. That is intentionally done to get the exact answer that you want, so you can move on and use that as proof whether or not it's true. So, like I said, as soon as he says that, I'm going to put you over here so I can read at the same time. As soon as he says that, he immediately cuts, does a jump cut, and then we talk about how popular WoW was. And then as it starts getting back to 4th edition, jump cut again, and then it talks about how 4th edition was marketed and how it wasn't really... it was marketed to previous players, despite the fact that it was designed to get new audiences in there. So nowhere in that entire section does it actually explain, well, what parts of World of Warcraft were used to inspire. I was playing World of Warcraft at the time. I started playing World of Warcraft in, I want to say, 2007. Very, very end of vanilla World of Warcraft. I played all the way through Wrath of the Lich King. I did endgame raiding in Wrath of the Lich King. And then when the one after that, with Deathwing and everything, that I'm forgetting the name right now. When that one came out, I played, and I got to endgame stuff, and then I just gave up on it because I really didn't like the direction it was going. When I started playing D&D, I don't remember seeing night elves or demon invasions, or I don't remember seeing combo points for rogues, or rage meters that you had to fill for warriors, or really I don't remember seeing any mechanics that were kind of indicative of World of Warcraft. There were no flying mounts. It's a huge, huge part of World of Warcraft. There's even things like the Ranger, which has a World of Warcraft equivalent, didn't work like World of Warcraft. Like your Ranger with a pet, like that's what Rangers are in World of Warcraft, is you have a pet. It's a pet class. 4th edition didn't do pet classes, really. Like, there was a Beastmaster Ranger equivalent. It didn't play very well because you had to basically share your actions with your pet, which is kind of true of most of pets. Like, there were summoning based wizards where you could summon little monsters, and then effectively you would have them, you would control them instead of your character, which really wasn't all that fun. They had druids that didn't work like World of Warcraft druids in any way, shape, or form. Really, there's not a whole lot of World of Warcraft in D&D 4th edition. But the big criticism that everybody uses is, well, it was just World of Warcraft on a tabletop, and that means that I don't have to play it, and that's why 3rd edition is better. No, never was. The thing that they wanted to make this like World of Warcraft was subscriptions. Again, D&D Insider was meant to not only give you access to D&D Insider, but also give you access to this virtual tabletop that they were designing that never happened. There was actually some tragedy involved. The lead designer of the virtual tabletop one day went and unalived, if I use the right YouTube term, his wife and himself, and then they found out that all the stuff he'd been working on they really couldn't salvage, and the virtual tabletop for 4th edition never materialized. Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't play 4th edition online. Again, there were already virtual tabletops that worked very, very well with 4th edition. 4th edition actually played pretty well online, and it had integration with other things. If I remember correctly, there was a Facebook integration that worked really, really well. It wasn't a virtual tabletop, but you could basically play 4th edition D&D in Facebook. If you guys don't remember, if this is before your time, Facebook used to have games on it. Things like Farmville, Zynga used to be this huge, huge company because they just kept producing these extremely popular Facebook games. And it used to be a pretty major gaming platform. Before mobile games became as big as popular as they are, Facebook were the original mobile games, and 4th edition had an official Facebook app that worked relatively well. It wasn't the most amazing thing in the world, but it worked remarkably well. Better than any other tabletop RPG on Facebook, because no one else was doing it. So again, the idea that I believe he's trying to imply is, yeah, 4th edition was just World of Warcraft. It wasn't. They were just trying to copy the subscription model, and they were hoping that their virtual tabletop would be as popular as World of Warcraft. It's all it was. The game itself was not World of Warcraft. All the people that claim that, oh, well, it was just a miniature combat game. No, it wasn't. They had a miniature combat game. They had multiple versions of it that used the D&D rule set. The board games that I have back here, those are miniature combat games that use the D&D 4th edition rule set. They're fun to play. They even have kind of like Betrayal in the House on the Haunted Hill, or whatever that game is, where you have this little book that comes with it that has all these different scenarios. The same thing with all of the D&D board games. They're super fun to play. I love them. But that was miniature combat. D&D 4th edition was a tabletop RPG that had amazing non-combat aspects. I heard people saying, well, yeah, but there was no like out-of-combat spells. There were tons of them. Ghost Sound was an out-of-combat spell. It was an at-will wizard cantrip. When you built a wizard, you got to pick a bunch of non-combat abilities. There, when you were leveling up your character, there was an entire section called skill powers, which were designed to not be used in combat. There were tons of things. Well, there wasn't anything that allowed you to light a flame. Yes, there was. Prestidigitation was a 4th edition cantrip, if I remember correctly, or they had a version of it. They also had Mage Hand in 4th edition, which has no use in combat. All of this is blatant lies by people that just don't like 4th edition and never actually played the damn game. It annoys me so much, especially when, again, Professor DM used to be much more respected than he is now. Mostly because during the OGL debacle, he got caught spreading complete falsehoods and then mentioning, oh, I'm never going to do anything with D&D. And then the 2024 stuff started coming out, and suddenly D&D is perfectly fine again. Just like every single other D&D content creator that said, well, the OGL debacle, you have lost my trust, and it's going to take a lot to get my trust back. How about we pay for a flight and a hotel room for you so we can market to you? You've won my trust back! How about we pay you to promote our product? I trust you completely, because money! How about people stop watching your channel because nobody really gives a shit about your non-D&D content unless it's controversial? Oh, you've won my trust! So, anyone that brings this up is, oh, it's been proven! It's proven! D&D 4th edition was just World of Warcraft! It's a bold-faced lie. It was intentionally done. Again, the cut is so abrasive and so blatantly obvious. I believe Merles was in the middle of a sentence when the cut happens. He had to cut it right there to ensure that you didn't find out that, oh, the only thing we copied was the subscription model. So it was. D&D 4th edition was insanely popular. Their first printing ran out before it published. They had to do a second printing before they published the game. It outsold every 3rd edition D&D book ever printed within, it was either 6 or 9 months. So 9 months of the game at the latest, 9 months of the game existing, it had sold more books than the entirety of the print run of 3rd edition. And I will guarantee you it sold more books than Pathfinder has ever sold. D&D 4th edition was incredibly successful. It just wasn't World of Warcraft successful. And that upset them. And to be blunt, if the virtual tabletop had actually worked, it probably could have been as successful as World of Warcraft. Because when we look at things like D&D Beyond and just how unbelievably successful D&D Beyond has been, and their new maps program, and the new virtual tabletop that that Wizards of the Coast is creating, I believe it's called Project Sigil. It is shaping up very quickly to basically be 5th edition is the return of 4th edition, because all the things that they promised in 4th edition have basically kind of started to become true in 5th edition. Own all your books digitally? Absolutely. You no longer get a subscription to just give you access to everything that exists for D&D, because that was a dumb decision from a business standpoint. You cannot expect to sell $50 and $60 books where you can pay $10 and get access to everything. So that doesn't exist, but there's still subscriptions that allow you to get specialized content directly for D&D. They give you discounts on D&D books. Virtual tabletop that's integrated with it, absolutely. The maps, which is in beta right now, which is their 2D virtual tabletop, already you can automatically drag over monsters directly from the monster manual onto your board. They already have the maps preloaded for a bunch of the different adventures in there. So if you are running exclusively pre-written D&D 5th edition content, maps is phenomenal. And it does exactly the things that you want to. Project Sigil is their 3D virtual tabletop, which currently I can't talk a whole lot about, aside from the things that I have seen them do publicly. And the public information that is available, it looks like it's going to play kind of similar to like a Baldur's Gate 3 style interface. Or at least I think that's what they're going for. And to be blunt, if they can get a Baldur's Gate 3 style interface that uses the full D&D 5th edition rule set, it will print money for them. If you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, it's a phenomenally exceptional game, and the interface works beautifully. It is the best translation of Dungeons and Dragons to a video game that has ever existed. And that's comparing it to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which I've done videos on about how they're fun games, but I hate the combat system. It's better than Neverwinter Nights. It's better than the Temple of Elemental Evil game, which was a really, really surprisingly good translation of the 3rd edition rules. It's better than D&D Online. It's better than Neverwinter. It's better than the old Gold Box games. Like, it is a phenomenally good video game version of D&D. But to get back to the whole purpose of this video, I believe, this is my personal belief based on my own inference. Professor DM has said none of this. Don't anybody go after this person saying, well, you lie. This is my inference. Okay? My inference is he asked a very, very pointed question to get the answer that he wanted, and as soon as he had that answer, he immediately cut to talk about something completely unrelated. And in that entire section, they never explain how it was made like World of Warcraft. They never mention it. They never touch that. I believe, again, my inference is anytime Mike Mearls actually talks about, so the things that we took from World of Warcraft were the subscription model. It inspired us to try and make the virtual tabletop. None of that makes it in because it hurts his idea of, well, 3rd edition is significantly superior than 4th edition ever was, and 4th edition was just World of Warcraft, the board game. It wasn't. It never was. It's a bold-faced lie. It was made up by people that don't understand exactly what was going on at Wizards of the Coast. Well, how do you know, Jody? You weren't at Wizards of the Coast. You weren't even playing Dungeons and Dragons in 2008 when it came out. Because I've done a shit ton of research. And Chris Perkins has actually talked about this. Has actually mentioned things, which Chris Perkins actually did work on the damn game and had been working much longer than Mike Mearls and still works at Wizards of the Coast. So take that for anything that you want it to be. And yeah, it's been confirmed multiple times. They wanted the World of Warcraft subscription numbers. That's why D&D Insider was a thing. And I think it used to be more expensive when it was supposed to include the virtual tabletop. And then 2 years after it came out, there was no virtual tabletop. And so I think it eventually went down to the $10 a month thing. Because again, I didn't start playing till near the end of 4th edition. Yeah, no, it just... I have... fun fact. PTSD is not a fun thing. And because one of the aspects of the abuse that I suffered for years upon years involves gaslighting. Whenever I hear someone saying just a blatant... something that I know to be blatantly false, whether or not they're intentionally saying it or they just are ignorant enough that they don't realize that what they're saying is completely untrue, it triggers my PTSD. Because the thing with gaslighting, for anyone that doesn't know what gaslighting is not lying a lot. Gaslighting is a specific psychological abuse tactic where the intention of it is to make the victim not be able to trust their own senses and to become completely reliant on the abuser. The way that gaslighting works is you lie to the person in a way that they know they can't be true. And you just continue to lie to them over and over and over again to the point where they start questioning that what you're saying I know isn't true, but you keep saying it. It actually comes from, I can't remember the movie anymore. The movie might have been called Gaslighting, I don't remember, but it's an old movie, and basically this man was doing something, and his wife was starting to find out, and every time he did it, like the gaslight lamps in their house would flicker, and then he'd come down and he'd just blatantly lie to her. And the thing about blatant lies that are just blatantly obvious to be false is if you're good enough and you're confident enough when you're saying them, people start to think that, am I the person that's wrong? And so the entire purpose of gaslighting is not, oh, you lie a lot. Purpose of gaslighting is to make your abuse victim not be able to trust their own senses. And so the only way they can believe anything is if you tell them what is true. It's a remarkably effective tactic to make your abuse victim completely reliant on you, which means they can't leave you. It's a horrible thing. And it was something that I experienced actually from multiple people. And so anytime I hear someone saying something that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt is untrue, like D&D 4th edition was just World of Warcraft the board game, which is a blatant falsehood, it triggers my PTSD because my brain goes, oh, someone's trying to gaslight you. You're in mortal danger. We need to put you in fight or flight mode. So, if I seem to be reacting very strongly to this, it's because this is a trigger for me. And again, I hate all the people that claim that 4th edition was just World of Warcraft the board game, because it wasn't. I like World of Warcraft. I would have liked a World of Warcraft board game. Would have been fun. D&D 4th edition is not World of Warcraft the board game. It is a remarkably well-balanced version of 4th edition that allows everybody to be cool. Instead of, if you really want to be cool and do like really amazing, powerful things, you have to be a magic user in every other version of D&D. How many fighters can like throw their sword and cut a god in two? They can't. But a wizard can call down a hail of meteors to rain down fire and brimstone on the enemy. A 4th level fighter can swing his sword 4 times. That's what made 4th edition so much fun. There were completely martial classes that had no magic whatsoever that could do really, really cool ass shit. And could be just as powerful as wizards, and everybody was able to be the super cool, ultra powerful hero. That's what 4th edition did best. They also had an exceptional skills challenge system that went through a bunch of revisions. Specifically, difficulty classes had to be revised. I think it was like 3 times throughout the lifespan of a 4th edition, because the first version of difficulty classes, if I remember correctly, were too easy to where you just always succeeded, and so that wasn't fun. And then the second wrote, if you weren't trained in an ability, you could not succeed. And if you were trained, you had like a 50% chance of succeeding on an easy check. And that wasn't fun. By the time they got to the 3rd revision, 4th edition was already in its decline. But the 3rd version of the difficulty class, because they had like tables that would tell you for level 5 characters, an easy DC is this number, a medium DC is this number, a hard DC is this number, to make it easier for DMs to run. The 3rd revision of that worked pretty well. It wasn't foolproof. No version of D&D was foolproof. But when you combine that with a skills challenge system, 4th edition could have some amazing, interesting situations that you could go through. And have a lot of fun with it. For all the people that claim, well, it used squares instead of real things like circles and cones, was because people were always arguing when you did something like, oh, this is a 30-foot cone. Okay, well, a tiny portion of the cone is technically going through a tiny portion of the corner of this square. That means I hit that character, right? Well, no, you have to. Everyone was always arguing because you played on a grid. 3rd edition required a grid as well. Anyone that tells you it didn't is lying to you. Because of all of the floating modifiers and things like that. Could you play at Theater of the Mind? Absolutely. Was it fucking pain in the ass? Absolutely. It basically required a grid. However, because circles and cylinders don't fit in a grid very well, there was always arguments about, well, if I move it just here so it just barely touches the outside of this corner, then I'm hitting them. And so the reason that they went with squares and everything was based on a grid was so you no longer had to argue about, is this enemy in the area of effect? That's all it was. And it worked really, really well. It annoyed me when they went back to cones and circles and stuff like that, because now we have the arguments that have been going on since the original version of the D&D. Well, if I just move it like this, then it goes through part of there, and that means they take the full effect. It just annoys the hell out of me. So, yeah. Again, Professor DM, I have eviscerated in you this. I have technically put some words in your mouth. If you want to acknowledge someone with less than 1,000 subscribers, I'm more than happy to have an actual discussion with you about this. And I will be polite. The only thing that I won't do is allow you to misinform people. But I will not swear at you. I will not call you names or anything like that. I don't believe that that's productive. So if you want to have a conversation about this, I'm more than happy to actually sit down and to talk about this. But as long as it's just me, and I sincerely doubt you give a flying fuck about me, because I'm a tiny little YouTuber that barely gets, 30 or 40 views on most of my popular videos. If I get double digits, I'm happy. So yeah, if you want to just completely ignore the stupid stuttering dude that nobody listens to, I completely understand. But I'm putting this out there. You want to have an actual conversation, I will be respectful, I will be polite, I just won't let you lie. And I hope that you don't let me lie either, have an actual discussion. Not a debate! This is not a debate! Actual conversation about this. Because again, I've talked about other stuff that you've done. I think you're poisoning the well of your channel right now. And if you continue along the path that you are just going to watch your channel die faster and faster and faster. And that's from a complete business perspective. But who damn did that piss me off? for everyone that's not Professor DM, interested to hear what you guys think. Just to put the, don't go to his video and comment on it. First of all, if you guys are rude, it makes me look bad. Second of all, he could just delete the comments. Like, be as angry and everything as you want. He can just delete the comments. And if the comments are just, you're a liar, he probably deserves to delete them. They're not being productive. So don't go after Professor DM. This is, again, the only reason I'm calling it out, because this is particularly egregious. And I want you guys to be able to actually watch the video. Because the rest of the video is all about 5th edition. He begins the video with this to kind of do this, aha, ha, I was right. 4th edition is just World of Warcraft, the board game. By the way, he sounds nothing like that, but I really like using that voice. So, anyway, interested to hear from you guys. First of all, are there any 4E fans out there? You are my people. Second of all, watch the video. Go and watch the video. Again, I'm not going to link it because I'm that mad. But I've told you the exact name. I've given you the timestamp to see the part about it. Watch the video. Come back here and tell me if you think that I am misrepresenting this, that I'm going off the deep end here. Yeah, it's possible that I could be. Again, this is a PTSD trigger. When stuff like that happens, I can get hyper focused on a single thing and read into things that aren't there. So it's theoretically possible that I myself am talking out of my ass. I don't think so, because I've been rebutting this argument for over a decade now. But yeah. Anyway, it's all for me today. I'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.